Welcome back to Language Access Academy. Take a deep breath, because today we are tackling a massive and incredibly important section of our medical glossary. The letter P. We are also going to cap it off with our loan entry for the letter Q. Let's jump right in and keep growing that vocabulary. Our first term is a pacemaker. This is a small electronic device that is surgically implanted to stimulate the heart muscle to provide a normal heartbeat. Paget's disease is a disorder occurring in the middle-aged and elderly in which bone does not form properly, causing bone weakening, thickening, and deformity. The palate is simply the roof of the mouth. Palliative treatment is treatment that relieves the symptoms of a disorder without actually curing it. Pallor refers to abnormally pale skin, and it usually refers to the skin of the face. Palpation is the use of the hands to feel parts of the body to check for any abnormalities. A palpitation, on the other hand, is an abnormally rapid and strong heartbeat. Palsy is the loss of sensation or the ability to move. The pancreas is a long gland located behind the stomach. It produces enzymes that help to break down food, as well as hormones like insulin and glucagon that help to regulate glucose levels in the blood. Pancreatitis is the inflammation of the pancreas, which is often caused by alcohol abuse. A pandemic is a widespread epidemic. Panic disorder is an emotional disorder characterized by attacks of anxiety that have no normal causes. It is usually made worse by stress. A papilloma is a tumor occurring on the skin or mucous membranes that is usually not cancerous. A pap smear is a test in which cells are scraped off the cervix and examined for abnormalities. It is used to detect changes that might precede cervical cancer and to diagnose viral infections such as herpes simplex. Paracentesis is the insertion of a needle into a body cavity to relieve pressure, inject a drug, or remove a sample for analysis. Paralysis is the inability to use a muscle because of an injury to or disease of the nerves leading to that muscle. A paramedic is a person trained to give first aid and other emergency medical care. Paranoia is a disorder in which a person becomes overly suspicious and emotionally sensitive. Paraphimosis is the strangulation of the head of the penis by a tight or inflamed foreskin that has been pulled back. Paraplegia is the complete or partial loss of sensation and movement of the legs. A parasite is an organism that lives on or in other organisms, from which it obtains its nutrients. The parasympathetic nervous system is the part of the autonomic nervous system that is stimulated during times of relaxation. A parathyroidectomy is the surgical removal of one or more of the parathyroid glands. The parathyroid glands themselves are small glands located in the neck that produce a hormone that regulates the levels of calcium in the blood. This hormone is called the parathyroid hormone. Parenteral refers to the introduction of a substance into the body by any route other than the digestive tract, such as through a vein or muscle. Paresis is partial paralysis. Paresthesia is numbness or tingling in the skin. It is commonly referred to as pins and needles. Parkinson's disease is a brain disorder in which there is a lack of the chemical messenger dopamine, which helps control muscle movement. This leads to muscle stiffness, weakness, and trembling. Paronychia is a bacterial or yeast infection of the skin around the nail. The parotid glands are salivary glands located in the mouth near the ears. A paroxysm is a sudden attack or worsening of a disease's symptoms. A partial mastectomy is a treatment for breast cancer in which a tumor is removed, along with the skin covering it and some of the surrounding tissues and muscles. A partial seizure is an abnormal electrical discharge in a certain area of the brain, affecting only certain functions. Passive exercise is the exercise of an injured part of the body, involving no effort from that injured part itself. Passive smoking is when a non-smoker inhales the cigar, cigarette, or pipe smoke of others in the same area. This is also called secondhand smoke, and it increases the non-smoker's risk of cancer and respiratory disorders. The patella is the medical term for the kneecap. When something is described as patent, it means it is open and not obstructed. For example, patent ductus arteriosus is a genetic disorder of the heart in which a channel connecting the pulmonary artery and the aorta fails to close, making the heart work harder to supply the body with blood. Paternity testing is the use of blood tests to match up DNA or specific blood proteins to determine whether a man is the father of a child. A pathogen is any substance capable of causing a disease, usually referring to a disease-causing microorganism. Pathogenesis is the production and development of a disease or disorder, and pathology is the study of disease. Patient-controlled analgesia is a system for administering pain-killing drugs, in which the amount of drug delivered is controlled by the patient. A peak flow measurement records the maximum speed that air is exhaled from the lungs. It is used to diagnose asthma or to determine the effectiveness of asthma medications. The pectoral muscles are the muscles of the upper part of the chest that move the arm across the body, raise some of the ribs, and move the shoulders. Pellagra is a deficiency of the vitamin niacin, which causes dermatitis, diarrhea, and mental disorders. A pelvic examination is an examination of a woman's reproductive organs. Pelvic inflammatory disease, or PID, is the inflammation of a woman's internal reproductive organs, usually as a result of a bacterial infection. It is one of the most common causes of pelvic pain and infertility in women. The pelvis is the group of bones in the lower part of the trunk that support the upper body and protect the abdominal organs. Penile function tests are used to determine the cause of impotence, including blood tests and nerve function tests. A penile implant is an inflatable device surgically inserted into the penis that allows a man with impotence to have sexual intercourse. The penis is the external male reproductive organ, which passes urine and semen out of the body. Pepsin is the enzyme found in gastric juice that helps digest protein. A peptic ulcer is an erosion in the lining of the esophagus, stomach, or small intestine, usually caused in part by the corrosive action of gastric acid. Percutaneous refers to a procedure that is performed through the skin, such as an injection. A perforation is a hole in an organ or body structure caused by disease or injury. Periarteritis nodosa is the inflammation and weakening of small and medium arteries. Pericardial effusion is fluid buildup inside of the pericardium, affecting the performance of the heart. Pericarditis is the inflammation of the membranous sac that covers the heart, causing chest pain and fever. The pericardium is that membranous sac itself, which covers the heart and the base of the blood vessels attached to it. Perinatal means occurring just before or just after birth. The periosteum is the tissue covering bones, except the surfaces and joints. Periostitis is the inflammation of the periosteum. The peripheral nervous system includes the nerves that branch out from the brain and spinal cord to the rest of the body. Peripheral vascular disease is the narrowing of blood vessels in the legs or arms, causing pain and possibly tissue death, like gangrene, as a result of a reduced flow of blood. Peristalsis is the wave-like movement of smooth muscle-containing tubes, such as the digestive tract. The peritoneum is the membrane that lines the abdominal cavity and covers the abdominal organs. Peritonitis is the inflammation of the peritoneum. Pernicious anemia is an anemia caused by a failure to absorb vitamin B12, which is essential in the production of normal red blood cells. Perth's disease is the inflammation of the growing head of a femur. It is a type of osteochondritis juvenilis. Pertussis is a bacterial infection of the respiratory tract characterized by short, convulsive coughs that end in a whoop sound when breath is inhaled. Mainly affecting children, it is commonly called whooping cough. A petit mal is a seizure characterized by a loss of awareness for brief periods. You might see the abbreviation PET scanning, which we will define fully under positron emission tomography scanning. Peutz-Jeghers syndrome is a genetic disorder in which there are polyps in the small intestine and brown melanin spots on the lips, mouth, fingers, and toes. pH is a measure of the acidic or basic character of a substance. A phagocyte is an immune system cell that can surround and digest foreign bodies, unwanted cellular material, and microorganisms. A phantom limb is the sensation of a limb after it has been amputated. Pharmacology is the study of medications, including drug development. Pharyngitis is the inflammation of the throat, or the pharynx, causing a sore throat, fever, earache, and swollen glands. The pharynx is the tube connecting the back of the mouth and nose to the esophagus and windpipe. Phenothiazines are a group of drugs used as antipsychotics, antihistamines, and antiemetics. Phenylketonuria, or PKU, is a hereditary disorder in which the enzyme that converts the amino acid phenylalanine into another amino acid is defective, meaning phenylalanine must be kept out of the diet. A pheochromocytoma is a noncancerous tumor of cells that produce epinephrine and norepinephrine, causing higher levels of these hormones in the blood and an increase in blood pressure. Phimosis is tightness of the foreskin, which prevents it from being moved back over the head of the penis. Phlebitis is the inflammation of a vein, while phlebothrombosis is the formation of a blood clot in a vein. Phlegm is mucus and other material produced by the lining of the respiratory tract. It is also called sputum. A phobia is a persisting fear of and desire to avoid something. Phosphates are salts containing phosphorus, essential to body functions such as the bones and teeth. Phospholipids are fatty substances that make up the membranes surrounding cells. Phosphorus is a mineral that is an important part of structures such as bones, teeth, and membranes in the body, and is involved in numerous chemical reactions. Photocoagulation is tissue destruction using a focused beam of light. Photophobia is an abnormal sensitivity of the eyes to light. Photosensitivity is an abnormal reaction to sunlight, which usually occurs as a rash, and phototherapy is treatment with some form of light. Physical therapy is the treatment of injuries or disorders using physical methods, such as exercise, massage, or the application of heat. Physiology is the study of the body's functions. Phytochemicals are chemicals in plants that might help protect against disorders such as cancer. Pica is a desire to eat materials that are not food. Pickwickian syndrome involves extreme obesity along with shallow breathing, sleep apnea, excessive sleepiness, and heart failure. PID stands for pelvic inflammatory disease, which we covered earlier. Pigmentation is the coloration of the skin, hair, and eyes by the pigment melanin. Pink eye is the inflammation of the membrane that covers the white of the eyes and lines the eyelids, causing redness, discomfort, and a discharge. It can be caused by infection or allergies. A pinworm is a small parasite worm that can live in the intestines, commonly affecting children. A pituitary adenoma is a noncancerous tumor of the pituitary gland. The pituitary gland itself is a small, round gland located at the base of the brain that releases hormones that control other glands and body processes. Pityriasis alba is a common childhood or adolescent disorder in which there are pale, scaly patches on the skin of the face. Pityriasis rosea is a mild skin condition in which flat, scaly spots occur on the trunk and upper arms. A pivot joint is a joint designed for rotational movement. PKU stands for phenylketonuria. A placebo is a chemically inactive substance given in place of a drug to test how much of a drug's effectiveness can be attributed to a patient's expectations. The placebo effect is the positive or negative response to a drug that is caused by those expectations rather than the drug itself. During pregnancy, the placenta is an organ formed in the uterus that links the blood of the mother to the blood of the fetus, providing nutrients and removing waste. Placental abruption is the separation of the placenta from the wall of the uterus before childbirth, causing severe bleeding. Placental insufficiency is when the placenta does not function properly, causing the fetus to be deprived of nutrients. Placenta previa is a disorder in which the placenta develops at the lower section of the uterus, close to or covering the cervix, which can cause vaginal bleeding and danger to the mother and fetus. The plague is a serious infectious disease transmitted to humans through bites of rodent fleas. The plantar reflex is the normal curling of the toes downward when the sole of the foot is stroked. A plantar wart is a rough-surfaced, hard spot on the sole of the foot caused by a virus. Plaque can mean an area of fat deposits in an artery causing narrowing, or dental plaque, which is a coating on the teeth consisting of saliva, bacteria, and food debris that causes tooth decay. Plasma is the liquid part of the blood containing substances such as nutrients, salts, and proteins. A plasma cell is a white blood cell that makes antibodies. Plasmapheresis is a procedure for removing unwanted substances from the blood by separating the plasma, replacing it, and returning the cleansed blood to the body. A platelet is the smallest particle found in the blood, which plays a major role in forming blood clots. The pleura is the double-layered membrane that lines the lungs and chest cavity and allows for lung movement during breathing. Pleural effusion is a buildup of fluid between those membranes, causing compression of the lungs and breathing difficulty. The pleural membranes are simply the pleura. A pleural rub is a rubbing sound produced by inflamed pleural membranes that can be heard when breathing. The pleural space is the space between the two layers of the pleura. Pleurisy is the inflammation of the lining of the lungs and chest cavity, usually caused by a lung infection and characterized by sharp chest pain. Pleurodynia is pain in the chest caused by a virus. Plummer-Vinson syndrome is difficulty swallowing due to an abnormal web of tissue across the upper part of the esophagus. PMS stands for premenstrual syndrome. We have covered a lot of ground today, but the letter P is a huge section. Let's take a quick breather here. This wraps up the first half of the letter P. Great job keeping up with all these terms. Whenever you are ready, just click over to the next episode and we will dive right into the second half. See you in the next clip.